Hi everyone, this is Daniel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's do this. Alright, so I'll be digging in on this topic, which is rather, I know, right? Don't be foolish too. Um, See, the way the world is working right now, we're seeing a manifestation. It's not an amazing word, a big word. Don't mind the cars outside. It's afternoon, so I'm recording in the afternoon, so yes. Anyway, so foolishness is going all around and it's spreading like a wildfire. As a matter of fact, it's what's popular right now is actually very foolish. Um, Look at the music, look at everything. I mean, the music that's popular right now, the more foolish it is, the more popular it is. You know, it's almost like a default thing. If you want to get famous really quickly, do something very foolish and see you will blow up. Um, I remember a certain rapper complaining to a friend of mine, about how he's been in the game for a while and so he's not making it. And then some guy came up with some funny video. I hope I'm not infringing any copyright things when I say this, but I think everyone knew there's some famous funny video about it. I'm the god. I'm the god. And it just blew up. I'm not saying that video is foolish per se. Okay, don't fight me. But I'm just saying that it was just some funny song per se, and this guy just blew up all of a sudden. And this guy was like, I don't like that. That guy really, it's like he was very bitter about it. It's like we've been in here doing things for a while, being very serious, and this guy comes up in here talking about how he's the god, literally. You know what I mean? He goes meh, you know. Anyway, now let's get into the serious thing. One of the ways to get wise, like, or wiser, is by learning from a fool. You know, the Bible talks about this. Isn't this surprising? In Proverbs 24, see, from verse 30. In Proverbs chapter 24, from verse 30 to 34, says, I walked by the field of a lazy person, in the vineyard of one with no common sense. I think other versions call this a fool. Yeah? And I saw it was overgrown with nettles, and it was covered with weeds, and its walls were broken down. Then as I looked and thought about it, I learned this lesson. Are you following this? So he looked by the field of a lazy person, the vineyard of a fool. Okay? Someone with no common sense. And this one is a nice version of the whole thing. You see? Then he learned this lesson. Are you understanding? So he don't learn this from someone who's wise. He went to somebody who was a fool, and then he learned this lesson. This was Solomon speaking. He was the wisest human being at the time. Then he says, then as I looked and thought about it, I learned this lesson. A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little unfolding of the hands to rest. Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. Now, you see, what I've discovered, even myself, which I started to do recently, is sometimes, but I'm not doing that much right now. I'm learning more from wise people than from foolish people. I was watching certain things, certain patterns. I mean, I was watching some YouTube channels. I'm a YouTuber. Sometimes you want to see what other people are doing. Now, I learned a few things from people, a few good things, even from very bad YouTubers, Now, I learned another thing, though, a certain pattern. I'm not living in my country of origin right now. I'm learning in another country, so I'm living in a different environment from where I'm supposed to, from my normal environment. And I learned several things here that people really, really complain about, and instability in relationships. It's a big thing. Relationships are a very, very, very big thing here, you know. How'd that look? Anyway, I was checking the time. Um, Relationships are a big issue, It's like men are not taking relationships seriously, and the girls are trying to find a way of tricking the system to get the relationship thing flowing. One thing to understand is this. From what I've learned from these YouTube channels, that these are mostly girls. I was listening to them talk about how they've been cheated on, heartbreaks, all these yada yada, this kind of situations, And I noticed something, that there's a pattern. It's not different. It's never really different, There's a pattern that if they could really, really listen or observe each other, they could actually learn that this is what's happening here. It's moving from this step to this step to this step, leading to this step. It's always the same, The only difference is in how good a storyteller you are. But otherwise, this problem is still the same. You see? Now, why I said don't be foolish too is this. You see, there are many people who now watch this YouTube channel, then go and experience what this other person has just talked about, then come just to form the same, just to make a YouTube channel to be talking about the exact same thing. You follow? Just in a different way. So if they're a boring storyteller, they will not make it. If they're a good storyteller, they will make it. So the skill is in how good a storyteller you are. But now, I also know something, and I'll be blunt about it. Some of these people are literally just, if by Bible terms, foolish. Now, why would I say something like that? Doesn't mean I'm just wise. Yeah. Listen. Foolishness has a definition according to the Bible. Okay. Proverbs says, this was King Solomon speaking that time. Says, a fool says in his heart, there is no God. You see, and that's how you know a pattern of. That's how you see when someone is a fool. When you say there is no God, there's what we call verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Okay, so verbal communication and verbal communication, and it is said that most of our communication is actually non-verbal. You see, so we speak without speaking most of the time. As a matter of fact, most of our speaking is without using the mouth. You follow? Now, you see, the Bible. Now, I'll give another illustration of this thing of there is no God, meaning to a fool. The Bible talks about the foolish virgins and the wise virgins, right? The ones who prepared the lambs, There was some. Okay, so basically, there were some virgins. They all had lamps and oil, and then some, while waiting for the wedding. The wedding talks about when Jesus comes to get his bride, which is the church. The foolish virgins, they finish the oil before, and didn't have a spare oil in the lamps. They followed, just had oil, and then they finished it. I don't know. I believe they were waiting or something. It's like they're in the room waiting, and then they use the lamps for light. They slept or something, and then when they woke up, the light is gone. They have no extra oil. What the other wise virgins? They had oil, extra oil, and then so it's like they could be in the same place, but these ones have extra oil. And when their oil is done for the other ones, these ones have their oil and they put back in the lamp and go on their way and continue to the wedding, and they make it. Now the foolish ones asked, "Can we have some of your oil?" But the issue is, the wise ones said, "No, we cannot give you this oil." You see, it was not enough, I believe, per se, for them to now give them to them. Otherwise, none of them will make it. You see, and the idea here is, the bride was coming. All these people knew the bride was coming. Technically God is the bride here, because Jesus is the Son of God. He just is God. Now in the foolish virgins here, you see an unverbal communication. It's like there is no God coming. Not that there is no God per se, but there is no God coming right now. This is a pattern. It's like a sentence. One says in Proverbs, there is no God. He's foolish. And these other ones, the ones that were foolish, notice that it already calls them the foolish. I'm not calling them foolish. They have already called them foolish. But see, what they did was, when they're supposed to prepare for God coming, they were like, he's not coming now. They rested. So And when he came, it was by surprise. See, there's the same pattern of there is no God. And that's how the world is living right now. We're living, there is no God coming right now. Just relax, have fun. It's not now, relax, have fun. It's not now, there's some time. That is the same pattern of foolishness. You see? Now, I'll tell you, don't be a fool too. I remember I myself was recently in a situation where I was like, hey, I followed the patterns. I like, curiosity came in. You know how they say the idle mind is the devil's workshop or something. I don't know who said that, but it kind of concurs with scripture. Your mind shouldn't be idle. Keep your mind busy. Whatever is good, whatever is pure, whatever is, think on these things. Basically, there's an idea of thinking about certain things. It's important to think on certain things. That means do things. Keep your mind thinking. I ended up in a certain place that I was not supposed to be at. But then I remember that why did this happen? It's because I reasoned with a reasoning that was not of God. So it was a foolish reasoning, a reasoning with no God in sight, no God. God is around but not right now. That kind of reasoning. It never leads to something good. And you see, how to really beat this not being foolish too is to remember the family to which you belong. Okay? Because you're supposed to be part of the family of God. Recall, according to Matthew 12 verse 50, when people came to Jesus and said, that time he was preaching, and they came to him. This is what it says. Okay, verse 46 first. It says, as Jesus was speaking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside asking to speak to him. Someone told Jesus, your mother and your brothers are outside and they want to speak to you. Jesus asked, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Then he pointed to his disciples and said, look, these are my brothers. These are my mother and brothers. Anyone who does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. Now, what he said is my brother, my sister and mother. Now, how could he say my mother? Okay, now, if you're spiritual, you have to understand he was talking about the spiritual family, okay? Because it's a family issue, my brother, sister and mother. He didn't say friends, and then friends, best friends. He said father, sister and mother. What is talking about? Family. Because in a family you have a father, you have a mother, you have a sister, you have a brother. You see? So God is talking about family here. You see? So, for you to understand or to move away from being foolish too, you have to move from being of a certain family to being of another family. You see, the family of God, in the family of God, wisdom is the order of the day. You see, the Bible said that by wisdom God made the foundations of the earth. The foundations of the earth were crafted by wisdom. God created the word using wisdom. You understand? He didn't just create the word anyhow. The Bible literally says he used wisdom. And the Bible says Jesus, the wisdom of God. You see, so Jesus was actually the manifestation of the wisdom of God. Do you follow what's happening here? Now, when you follow the pattern of what Jesus did, you realize that he did not really follow just do whatever they were doing. Somehow he did whatever they required of him. By law, for example, he paid the taxes. He did everything. They could not find fault. Each time they brought him to court, most times they failed to find fault with him. You see, because he's using wisdom that is above them. You follow, but this is the idea. The family to which he belongs, because the Bible says when you become a Christian, because you're supposed to be of the family of God, or you are of the family of God, depending on if you became born again. Now, if you're following in this family, you're supposed to remember that some opinions do not matter, some things do not matter, but also learn from the foolishness of the world. All right. I mean, watching all these YouTube channels, as I was saying before, watching all these YouTube channels, go made to realize that the world doesn't really learn. You see, it does not learn from itself. It's people who are wise. It's funny enough, fools don't learn from each other. Fools only battle each other. Fools only talk. But wise people look and learn even from the very foolish things. So, are you wise? Don't be foolish too. Anyway, I've exhausted what I have to say. God bless you. I believe you've learned something. Enjoy.